Hello, I'm glad you can join me for our letter of the day video. Today our letter is the letter N. N looks like this. And now that you can recognize it, let's try to write it. Letter N is a lot like letter M. You're going to start by writing a number 1. You're going to go back to the top, slide down, and walk back up. Let's see what that looks like on the handwriting house, okay? So on the handwriting house, you're going to make the number 1. You're going to go back up to the top, slide down, and then walk back up. So make a number 1, slide down to the bottom, and then walk straight back up. Slide down and walk back up. You can try to practice your handwriting right now, or you can just watch me and practice later. You can even skywrite if you don't have paper. Make a number 1, slide down and walk back up. Let's see if we can make the lowercase n, okay? For the lowercase n, you're just going to make a small number 1. You're not going to pick your pencil up this time. Just trace back up, bend over. That's the lowercase n. Let's see what that looks like on the handwriting house. Okay, so let's make the lowercase 1. Trace up and over. 1, up and over. This is the lowercase n. Trace back up and over. Okay, let's talk about what letter N sounds like. Letter N makes this sound. Letter N says n, n, n. Can you try to make that sound? Letter N says n, n, n. Well, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I bet the answer to these questions is going to be no, but let's find out. Letter N says N as in no. So to help us remember, let's play this game. Do you like to smell stinky trash? No, I don't like to smell stinky trash. Do you like to go to bed early? No, we want to stay up late. We don't want to go to bed early. What about this one? Do you like to bump your head? Ouch! No, we don't want to bump our head. What about this one? Do you like to clean your room? No, we don't want to clean up our room. How about this one? Do you like to lose your favorite toy? No, I don't want to lose my favorite toy. Well, that's what letter N says. N says N as in no. So today I'm going to give you a hint. I'm going to shake my head like this just to remind you what letter N says. N says N as in no. Let's do some blending. I'm going to need my vowels if you want to help me say them. The vowels are A, E, I, O, and U. Okay, now that we have our vowels, we're ready to put the letter N with each of them and see if we can blend these two sounds together. Reading is just blending letter sounds together. So we start with just 2. N, ah, na, na. N, eh, ne, ne. N, I, ne, ne. N, ah, na, na. N, na, na. Well, we're going to take 2 of these blends and we're going to turn them into words, okay? Let's take this first blend na. And let's make this say nap. What letter makes this sound? It's letter P. So let's try to read this word. Nap, nap, nap. Let's do one more. I want this to say net. What letter says t, 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 like a ticking clock? T, t, t. That's letter T. Let's read this word. Net, net, net. Like a net you might use to catch butterflies in the spring. Okay, that was our reading and phonics time, and now let's move on to math. For math today, we're going to be doing some patterns. I'm going to put the link below so that you can get a copy of this pattern sheet. Okay, let's take a look at the first row. I see a bluebird and a brown bird, and then it goes back to a bluebird. So I think I've found my pattern. A pattern is just something that repeats again and again. Bluebird, brown bird, bluebird, brown bird, bluebird. What comes next? Brown bird. Very good. Let's try the next one. Nest, red bird. And then it goes back to nest. So I have my pattern. Nest, red bird. Nest, red bird. Nest. What comes next? Red bird. Very good. Okay, let's do the next one. Nest, bluebird, red bird. That's our pattern. Nest, bluebird, red bird. Nest, bluebird, red bird. Last one. Brown bird, bluebird, nest. That's our pattern. Brown bird, bluebird, nest. Brown bird, bluebird, nest. Good job. That was great doing those patterns together. Well, I want to talk about our color for today. In the story that I'm going to read you, there is a bird, and the bird is going to make a nest using some yellow hay. So that's our color for today, yellow. Will you help me sing the song about how to spell yellow? Y-E-L-L-O-W spells yellow. Y-E-L-L-O-W spells yellow. Like the early morning sun when the day has just begun. Y-E-L-L-O-W spells yellow. Well, our shape for today is going to be a rectangle. I want to introduce you to my friend Ricky Rectangle. Ricky Rectangle, don't get me wrong. 2 sides short and 2 sides long. Well, for our art project today, we're going to be using a rectangle. This is actually a paper bag, but it is in the shape of a rectangle. How do I know? Because there are 2 sides short and 2 sides long. All right, let's use this paper bag to make a nest. I'll change the camera view so you can see too. Here are the things we're going to need for this art project today. A paper bag. And then I'm using this. A package came in the mail, and this is just package filler. But you could use little pieces of paper, or you could use Easter grass. A lot of people can find it now at the store. So I'm just going to open up the bag, and then I'm just going to fold it down all the way around and all the way to the bottom. Okay, when I get all the way to the bottom, you can see it does kind of look like a little nest. I'm going to put that filler down inside, and then I'm going to add some little plastic Easter eggs. I have one more surprise for you. I took one of the Easter eggs and I made it into a little bird. So you can just take the egg, glue on some eyes, and a little beak and some wings made of paper, and you can make a little bird to sit on the nest. That's our art project for today. Now let's do some science. For science today, we're going to be learning about birds. I'm going to put a link below so that you can do some more research on birds at the sites that I found that are really good and had a lot of great information. So do that for your science today. And then I want to talk to you just a minute about what the Bible says about birds. In Matthew 10:29, it says, "Are not two sparrows sold for a penny? And not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father, but even the hairs of your head are all numbered." Isn't that amazing? That God knows even when the little sparrows fall. And He knows everything about you, even how many hairs are on your head. That should make you feel very special. Well, there are lots of different kinds of birds, but there's something they all have in common. They all have beaks. And so they use their beaks like hands to pick up their food. So an idea that you might want to do today is get a pair of tweezers and then get some seeds. If you don't have bird seeds, maybe you can look in your cupboard and find some seeds like these sesame seeds. Just pour them into a little bowl. And if you don't have any kinds of seeds, what about rice or beans, anything that's small that helps you with your fine motor practice? Okay, so then you can take the tweezers and see if you can try to pick up the little seeds with the tweezers. It might be harder than you think. Can you imagine being a bird and using your little beak to have to get your food? Well, I think that birds are amazing, and I have a story to read to you about birds. It's a fun story, though, and the name of this story is The Best Nest, and it's by P.D. Eastman. The Best Nest by P.D. Eastman. Mr. Bird was happy. He was so happy he had to sing. This was Mr. Bird's song. "I love my house, I love my nest. In all the world my nest is best." Then Mrs. Bird came out of the house. "It's not the best nest," she said. "I'm tired of this old place. Let's look for a new place right now." So they left the old place to look for a new one. "This place looks nice," said Mr. Bird. "Let's move in here." But somebody else had already moved in. So they looked for another house. "This one looks nice," said Mr. Bird, "and there's nobody in it." "You're wrong," said Mrs. Bird. "This house belongs to a foot." So they went on looking. "I like this one," said Mr. Bird. "It has a pretty red flag on the roof." "I've always wanted a house with a flag," said Mrs. Bird. "Maybe this place will be all right." But it was not all right. "I guess I made a mistake," said Mr. Bird. "You make too many mistakes," said Mrs. Bird. "I'm going to pick the next house, and here it is, right here." They flew in. They looked around. "Isn't it too big?" asked Mr. Bird. "I like this big place," said Mrs. Bird. "This is the place to build our new nest." They went right to work. They needed many things to build their nest. First, they got some hay. They got some soda straws and broom straws. They got some sweater string. They got some stocking string and mattress stuffing. They got some horsehair. They got some man hair. Soon they had all the hay, all the straw, all the string, all the stuffing, all the horsehair, and all the man hair they could carry. They took it all back to build their nest. Mr. and Mrs. Bird worked very hard. It took them the rest of the morning to finish their nest. "This nest is really the best," said Mrs. Bird. "I want to stay here forever." Mr. Bird was very happy too. He flew to the top of his house. He sang his song again. "I love our house, I love our nest. In all the world our nest is best." He was so busy singing that he didn't even see Mr. Parker coming. Every day at 12 o'clock, Mr. Parker came to the church. Mr. Parker came to pull a rope. The rope went up to the bird's new nest. The rope rang the big bell right under Mrs. Bird's nest. Bong, bong, bong. Mrs. Bird got out of there as fast as she could. Well, when Mr. Bird came back, all he could see was a mess of hay and straw and string and stuffing, horsehair and manhair and straws. But where was Mrs. Bird? I will look for her until I find her, said Mr. Bird. He looked high, he looked low, he looked everywhere for Mrs. Bird. He looked down into a chimney, but Mrs. Bird wasn't there. He looked down into a water barrel, but Mrs. Bird wasn't there. Then he saw a big cat. There was a big smile on that big cat's face. There were some pretty brown feathers near the cat's mouth. Mr. Bird began to cry. "Oh dear," he cried, "this big cat has eaten Mrs. Bird." Mr. Bird flew off. "I'll never see Mrs. Bird again," he cried. It was getting dark. It began to rain. It rained harder and harder. Mr. Bird could not see where he was going. Crash! Mr. Bird bumped into something. It was his old house, that old house that Mrs. Bird didn't like. "I'll go inside," said Mr. Bird. "I'll rest here until the rain stops." Mr. Bird went in, and there was Mrs. Bird sitting there singing, "I love our house, I love our nest. In all the world this house is best." "You here?" gasped Mr. Bird. "I thought you didn't like this old nest." Mrs. Bird smiled. "I used to not like it, but a mother bird can change her mind, can't she? You see, there's no nest like an old nest for a brand new bird." And when the egg popped open, the new bird thought so too. Well, I hope you had a lot of fun today learning about the letter of the day, which was letter N. Maybe you can make a little nest and a little bird. Practice reading with the letter N. N says N as in no. And maybe today you can pretend you're a bird and do the fine motor activity. Try to pick up those little seeds with a tweezer. I will see you tomorrow for our letter of the day. Goodbye.